We have watched as Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as a living widow and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother.
Accused killer Kouri Richins once out of jail. This after the prosecution's star witness is taking back a key statement about providing fentanyl. And a former NFL quarterback is stabbed and then arrested over the weekend. This after an alleged drunken fight. Our power panel weighs in on what comes next for Mark Sanchez. Plus, a teenager charged with murder after allegedly mowing down 2 young girls on e-bikes. We'll talk about the connection that he has with the chief of police that's now raising suspicions. Plus, a lip filler appointment leads to a hot car death. Accused child killer Maya Hernandez is gearing up for trial. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I had a nice long weekend. Of course, I missed you, and we put together a great show for you this morning. So let's kick it off as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. If you can pay for filler, you can afford a sitter. Trial is about to begin for the California mother accused of killing her baby by leaving him in a hot car while she got lip injections. Baby Emilio Gutierrez was only a year old when he died in June from suffering in the sweltering heat. His 2-year-old brother was also left in the same car, but fortunately, he survived. This case is beyond tragic. This young woman was blessed with 2 beautiful, healthy babies. And from what police say, their safety and well-being took a back seat, quite literally, to her beauty appointment. Lip filler isn't cheap. It's also something that you have to plan for in advance. So if this mother had hundreds of dollars to pay for it, and she made the time to incorporate it into her schedule, she should have lined up a babysitter too. You know, my friends, we typically see somebody forgetting about a baby in the backseat of a car when we see hot car death cases. But here, police say this mother knew all along that her babies were there and was thinking that the air conditioning was running. She left it running. She thought they would be fine. But her car automatically shut off after an hour of inactivity. And little baby Emilio's body temperature was 107 degrees when he was pronounced dead at the hospital. That beautiful baby should not have been left alone with his 2-year-old brother, period. End of story. May he rest in peace with the angels now, and may justice be served in that California court of law. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
I can't take chances. I lose everything. No, I am telling you the truth. If something happens to me, you already know. I'm going to blow her brains out so she doesn't talk. I have to do it, Eric. I have no other choice. I'm going to lose everything. What I need is someone to drive me. That's it.
In Florida, we've got convicted killer Jose Soto Escalera expected to be in court for a sentencing that's going to get underway at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Also in Florida, we've got the scattered remains murder trial resuming this morning at 9:45 a.m. Eastern. Defendant Daniel Stearns is accused of killing his girlfriend Nancy. And former Miami Hurricane Rashawn Jones in court today for a motions hearing. He's accused of shooting his teammate Brian Pata. Court's going to get underway at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Right now, though, let's turn to our top story for you. We have some new information to share with you in the violent attack that led to a former NFL star named Mark Sanchez getting stabbed and then later arrested. Here's his picture. You might remember Mark Sanchez from his days when he was a Jets quarterback. He played in the NFL for 10 seasons and is now a game day analyst. Here he is on Fox NFL's Rear View.
Who was the best defensive player or team that you ever played against?
Probably Baltimore. We get the ball backed up on like the 7-yard line after a weird kick return or something. First drive of the game at Baltimore. I drop back. We have a backup center in. They don't slide out to the slot. The next thing I know, ball's out. Ed Reed readjusts my neck.
According to court documents and hotel surveillance footage, Sanchez got into a drunken fight with a 69-year-old truck driver. Sanchez was in Indianapolis doing game coverage. The stabbing happened around midnight on Sunday outside of Sanchez's hotel. He approached a delivery driver, according to police, and started talking to him. The surveillance footage shows Sanchez running after the driver, and police say it also shows him throwing the driver against a wall and then onto the ground. The driver told police reportedly that he thought Sanchez was going to kill him. So he says he pulled out a knife and then stabbed Sanchez multiple times. Both of the men were hospitalized, treated for their injuries, and then released. We have a photo of the 69-year-old truck driver in the hospital. And before we show it, I just want to warn you, it's pretty graphic. Here it is. Fox 59 anchor Angela Gelati shared this image online of the victim. Sanchez charged with battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. So let's talk about all the things that are going to come next for him. We got a tremendous power panel we put together for you this morning. Let's welcome our guests now. We have with us former NFL quarterback Charlie Batch, sports and entertainment law attorney Dan Lust, and civil and celebrity attorney Ben Chu. Good morning to you all. Charlie, let me start with you, please. Tell us about Mark Sanchez, if you would, please.
Yeah, Mark, former quarterback like myself, and he spent time with 6 teams, mainly with the Jets. And I'm familiar with him because of the 2010 season, whenever he led his team into Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game. And we were off to a good start. We got him 24-3, but ultimately he led them back in literally a final drive defensively that we had to stop him. And we won that game 24-19. But as he moved on in post-career, he was an analyst for Fox. And I just literally had a chance to spend time with him 3 weeks ago as he covered the Pittsburgh-Seattle game here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, it just, when I see all of this is obviously disturbing. And my thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved.
Yeah, most definitely, Charlie. Let's talk a bit about whether he may lose his job next. Dan Lust, of course, I want to go to you on this. I'm sure there's an agent waking up worried this morning. Want you to weigh in on that, please.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, these jobs post-playing career are given to a handful of players, and it's certainly, we'll say a sensitive job. And even this past Sunday, Mark got replaced on the broadcast. So I don't think there's any guarantee moving forward. Obviously, it's a developing situation. We're learning more. But yeah, there's certainly no guarantee that Sanchez is back in the booth, be it next weekend, the week after that. These jobs are very hard to come by and saved for, a handful of guys in their post-playing career.
Dan, thank you for that. Ben Chu, want to go to you on the problems we know he's going to face in criminal court and the potential of any civil liability as well. You have experience dealing with big, public, messy cases. You represented Johnny Depp recently. Talk to us a little bit about what you foresee here from Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, Julie, as you point out, there are a lot of traps for him because what might help him in the court of public opinion might help him in the criminal realm will make it more difficult for him in the civil context. So they're very dangerous shoals he has to navigate, he and his counsel, in the next several months.
For sure. Charlie, let me go back to you about things that players and analysts need to be mindful of when they travel and go to different cities for work purposes. And you've done both. You're also a sports analyst like him. You work for CBS Pittsburgh and do the game calling there at a great station in Pittsburgh, CBS Pittsburgh, KDKA. So tell me, when you travel to these other cities, whether when you were playing or doing broadcasting work, what are the things that you're most mindful of?
Yeah, typically when you're, as a player, you're already in the travel schedule as it relates to what the organization is doing. So you receive your travel itinerary on Friday. You understand you're traveling on Saturday. And if there are things that you need to be aware of, they will alert you during that time. But as you now see, the game is expanding globally. And when you do that, now you're getting international rules and things that you may be aware of as you're traveling into these countries. So this is just something that when you're an analyst aspect, you're typically into that city a little differently because now you're into the corporation travel policy. So he gets in there on a Friday, spends time with the home team. And then when the arriving team comes in on Saturday, then he'll spend his time with them in the afternoon, evening hours. So that's just typically how it works from player to post analyst.
Appreciate it, Charlie. Dan, let me go to you, please, on Mark Sanchez's perspective here. I'm sure he doesn't want to lose his job. He's got a good gig on TV, and this is a big mess, and other folks on TV like us are talking about it this morning. Tell me, what advice would you have for him, please, Dan, if you're his counsel, if you're his agent going forward the next few days and weeks here?
Well, I think it's probably advice for him, and then just really anyone in that situation moving forward. There are certainly some reports trickling out about things that Sanchez may have admitted to, being at the scene, maybe consuming alcohol or not having certain memories of certain events. Certainly, that's probably the advice you give long term if you're involved in that type of situation. Don't admit to anything. And for Sanchez, I would think moving forward, it's probably the same advice: lay low, keep a low profile, and hopefully this kind of rolls over. When week 5 of the NFL season, certainly people have done much worse and returned to air, and this is seemingly the first thing that Sanchez has done to reach this particular level. And you don't reach a Fox broadcast with something like this in your particular background. And I'm from New York. Sanchez was squeaky clean when he was here with the Jets, and certainly keeps a very high profile. So I think that's the advice to Sanchez. Just let this roll over, let your attorneys do the talking for you, and hopefully, you can get back on air by the end of the season, if not sooner. But again, no guarantees here.
Right. Excellent advice, Dan. Ben Chu, let me dovetail off of something that Dan said with you, please, with dealing with these criminal allegations first, because we know that's what's on the table in the immediate future. We'll see if there's potentially a civil lawsuit. But with the public intoxication charge, we know that there's an element, according to police, I'm not saying it's true, just it's what's being alleged here, that there was heavy drinking involved. What might you do to get ahead of things for him with this criminal process? In other words, might we consider something like rehab for him? Might we consider some kind of an anger management program? I'm curious what you may do with him, Ben, if you're his lawyer right now.
Yeah, Julie, that's a great question. I agree with Dan. I think the top priority for him now has to be to resolve the criminal charges. One, get that done out of the way. Second priority is then to deal with the civil matter, try to get that settled as soon as possible. And only then can you consider public relations, contrition, going to treatment, anger management, all of those things. But I think you have to, you just, at this point, a lot of damage has been done, and you just have to be patient. And the instinct is to try to resolve it all at the same time. It just can't be done. He's got to take a back seat and listen to his attorney. Hopefully he's got somebody like Dan representing him.
Great points, Ben. Thank you for that. Agreed. Charlie, let me go to you, please, for some advice for him. If you could give him any advice as somebody who's got that experience both as an analyst and as a former NFL star, what would you say, to him if he's struggling with something, or if something was behind this that we're just not sure about this morning as we have this discussion? What might you share with Mark Sanchez?
Well, I think as he's going through all of this, obviously his team is going to represent him. And like people mentioned on this segment here already, just, hey, keep your mouth shut and ultimately let your team work for you. But unfortunately, when you are a public figure, you are guilty until proven innocent. And we're all going to have these discussions until you get your day in court. It's going to be tough for him to keep his mouth quiet until he gets his true test in court. But ultimately, he's going through this. There's a lot of things that are happening before you actually can think about returning to work. So there's, just at this particular point, he just has to play it out.
Excellent points you just made. Great discussion with you all. Charlie Batch, thank you so much. Friends at home, check out his foundation, Best of the Batch. Attorney Dan Lust, we got to let you get off to court. You've got cases to win. Check out Dan's podcast, Conduct Detrimental. And Attorney Ben Chu's coming with us for the hour. You do the same at home, please. When we come back, here's what's coming up. We're talking about a teenager in New Jersey charged with murder after allegedly hitting 2 girls on e-bikes. Now, this comes after there were claims that this young man was stalking one of those victims. And
We have watched as Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as a living widow and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother.
the new efforts to get accused killer Kouri Richins out of jail. We'll talk about what's tipping the scales. My
two best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episodes Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. A 17-year-old in New Jersey is accused in a fatal hit and run that took the lives of two teenage girls. Friends Maria Neotis and Isabella Salas were hit last week by a vehicle driving at least 70 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Police say the driver, named Vincent Badaloro, intentionally hit the girls and then abandoned his Jeep after the accident. Relatives of Maria and Isabella claim that Badaloro was stalking one of the children. According to CBS News, a restraining order had been filed against him before the crash. Then, sometime after the crash, a video was streamed to Badaloro's YouTube channel with a young man claiming that he's been bullied.
I really think there needs to be more done to address mental health in the state. Because, you know, I don't even know how to explain this, dude. I've been bullied, ridiculed, and stuff over false allegations, okay? Over this whole thing about things that have happened in the past. There's more to this story. It'll come out in the future.
Now, the suspect's still a minor, so we're not allowed to show his face. That is, unless, of course, he gets charged in adult court, which could happen. We'll see. But for now, the question we have first for our power panel, what more questions are looming in this investigation? Let's bring in our guest, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci, who practices in New Jersey, is here. And private investigator, he's also a military veteran, served in the NYPD as well. He's with Black Ops Private Investigators, Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you both. Okay, so what other questions do you both have with this case, please? Manuel, let me start with you.
Well, first of all, I want to say my condolences to the family for the loss of these two angels, okay? Second of all, I want to say that this case identifies the national problem we have with law enforcement. Thousands of women call Black Ops Private Investigators every year complaining about stalking cases, and law enforcement really doesn't do much. I mean, most women report it and they don't take action, okay? And this case also shows that you can use VPN technology. You can use Google-generated numbers to harass people and intimidate them and bully them. And we don't have laws stopping this. I hope the governor of New Jersey sees this. But one of the things that I tell women every day, and I mean literally, Julie, every day, buy yourself a spy watch. Buy something like this. Video record the people stalking you. So when you go to that police precinct, they have to take law enforcement action. If you don't show them concrete proof, they won't do anything. These girls should have never died. He should have been arrested. They reported him numerous times. This was a failure of the system on so many levels.
Manuel, thank you for all of that. Mario, I want to get your thoughts, please. Tell us what questions are coming up in your mind this morning as you hear the facts of this one.
So Julie, you know, this is it's sad. It's a very sad case. But as a defense attorney, my role here would be to make sure that this doesn't get waived to Union County Superior Court. So it's a process. The prosecutor has the option, if a child over 15 years old is charged with a serious crime, to waive it to adult court, which would be Union Superior Court. And that ultimate decision is up to the judge. And some of the things that you would, as a defense attorney, want to do is show the judge that, you know, his lack of maturity, he might have prior mental illness. I mean, I just watched that YouTube video you posted. That YouTube video shows that maybe he does have some mental illness. And those are some of the things that a judge would consider before a case is actually waived to adult court. So I would take the time now to make the effort to try and establish that this child belongs in family court, in the lower level juvenile court, although charged with murder in Union County. There are a lot of factors that have to go on here. The stalking itself doesn't mean that he did this on purpose. So I would also want to investigate, the claims of stalking. In that YouTube video, he says that he's being falsely accused. So as a defense attorney, I would want to get an investigator and try to back up some of those facts before these hearings.
Awesome insight, Mario. Thank you for all of that. Let's talk about another twist to this story. So a police chief from a neighboring town who responded to the incident confirms that he is related to the suspect. In a statement issued on the Westfield Police Department's Facebook page, Chief Chris Badaloro stated, quote, "While social media has made it known that the accused is related to me, he is not my son and not a member of my immediate family. I want to be clear, as loud and as firm as possible, that in no way do my wife, children, or I condone, defend, or excuse the actions that caused this terrible and tragic loss of life." The chief lives in the neighborhood where the incident occurred and went on to say that he has faith in the justice system, that the system will hold the suspect accountable. So a fair question we're raising this morning: do you trust this investigation? Manuel, what do you say?
Well, I'm going to say to you no. And the reason why is because, one, he's a chief. His position is so powerful that if he turns around and tells a regular off-duty cop, let's say stops him for a speeding ticket, I'm Badalaro and I'm a family member of the chief, 90% of the cops won't even touch him. They'll just give him a pass and let him go his way, okay? And unfortunately, that's a reality. I see it here in New Jersey, and I see it all the time in New York. So this chief coming out and making a statement because he realizes that his name was most likely pulled up and used sometime during this investigation. And that also indicates to me that that's one of the reasons why they failed to take action during those families reporting him stalking those children. These girls should have never died. And if law enforcement would have really took action, unfortunately, they'd still be alive today. And that's my professional opinion.
I really appreciate it, Manuel. And on that last point you just made, let me dovetail off of that. I have a Facebook post from Maria's uncle. So Mike Neotis, Maria's uncle, said, quote, "My beautiful young 17-year-old niece was killed. Everybody knows and everybody sees for many months the killer. Follow her to the house for many months. Everybody knows that in a neighborhood, my niece was a high school student, being followed by somebody from that school every day and harassing her. My family notified the police department many times about the situation, which is that they never did anything about my niece. We have no protection, none, even from the police, none, even from the law." I'm quoting this in part. We've pulled out some of the pertinent parts there. It's a long post, but you get the gist. It sounds like he doesn't trust this investigation. Mario, I want to get your thoughts. Should he trust it?
So I agree and disagree with Manuel. I mean, you saw that post, and that's exactly what Manuel is talking about. When somebody is related to the chief of police in the town that somebody's being stalked, I could see police officers in that town, not maybe taking it as seriously because it's the chief. And I've seen cases like this. I've defended cases of police officers, many of them, and I see what goes on in the background. But here, the chief has taken a step to say, listen, he has nothing to do with this. I think the next step he has to take is to completely withdraw himself from the investigation and have somebody else appointed, maybe a temporary chief, or create like a Chinese wall where nothing that goes on in this case he's allowed to see, and let somebody else run this investigation, just so we have complete transparency from the beginning of this investigation till the end. And I think the chief is trying to take those steps.
Great points you both are making here. Mario, thank you for that. Manuel, I want to allow you to make the last point. Anything else we should be thinking about generally? If you touched on this a bit, about if someone is experiencing stalking in whatever form, if it's coming in person or cyber stalking, whatever it is, some of the steps that they can take to help keep themselves safe and to help raise red flags.
Well, one of the things I recommend to people is a site that I go to oftenly. It's called spyassociates.com. And again, you can buy a watch like this for about $100. They sell hair clips with a camera. They even sell things like this, which looks like your AirPod case, and it actually records in videos. This will help you. And some things like this are going to be about $60. And it will help your child record whoever's stalking them. So when you go to the police precinct, they'll have evidence and they'll be forced to take action. Unfortunately, like I said, the police department did it, and this is a national problem. This is not just New Jersey. But like my partner said, I agree. The police department needs to step aside. There should be an independent investigators done on this case so we can have full transparency, and I hope that happens. But when you're out there, people, please buy something. This will save your kid's life. It's only $100. Please buy it. spyassociates.com.
That's a nice looking watch there too. It's stylish and and very helpful. Coming from the master investigator, Manuel Gomez. Manuel, thank you so much. You got cases to work. We got to let you go. Thank you for everything. Be safe, my friend. And Mario Gallucci is coming with us. Do the same at home, please. When we come back, we're going to be spotlighting the accused lip filler child killer, Maya Hernandez. We've got a plastic surgeon on the show next to weigh in on her case. Don't go away. Plus, grief author Kouri Richins seeking to get out of jail after a key witness recants his statement about fentanyl use.
She met up with acquaintance 2 at a Maverick gas station in Draper and purchased from him 15 to 30 round green-blue pills, which she understood to be fentanyl.
1 or 2 pills might be accidental. 20 or 5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the case of Kouri Richins, a Utah mom accused of killing her husband and then writing a grief book about it. Richins is accused of fatally poisoning her husband, Eric, with fentanyl that she allegedly acquired from her housekeeper, Carmen Lauber. Now, the allegation was based off of interviews with Lauber and the man said to have supplied her the drugs, named Robert Crozier. Well, now, Kouri Richins' defense team says that Crozier recanted months ago and accuses prosecutors of withholding that information. Here's the detective being asked about the drugs at one of Richins' preliminary hearings.
Can you say with certainty that the pills that Ms. Lauber allegedly gave to Ms. Richins were the pills that were taken by Eric Richins, or the pills that were taken, if any pills were taken by Eric Richins?
No.
And as you sit here right now, do you have any idea, like actual knowledge, not an idea, let me rephrase that, do you have any knowledge of how fentanyl got into Mr. Richardson's system, Mr. Richardson's system? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, so does this change things? So now her defense team is saying that because this witness first said that he provided them and then said that he didn't provide them, he gave contradictory statements. What does that do to her bail situation, right? Let's talk about bail and then let's talk about the trial, okay? Let's bring in our legal eagles, Mario Gallucci and Ben Chu. Okay, Mario, starting with the bail, help us out here. So you're a defense attorney, as we know. Does this tip the scales, this bit of information, or not so much with the bail?
Well, I mean, she's charged with murder, but there is a change in circumstance here. You know, initially he said that he provided fentanyl to her and that he provided the fentanyl. When he made that statement, he said he was detoxing while he was in prison. And now that he made other statements to the prosecutors this year in April that contradicts that original statement, saying that I believe he said he gave her oxycodone. So I believe her attorneys are trying to say that if you don't have fentanyl in her hand, that completely changed the circumstance, because now she can't be capable of murdering him with fentanyl if she never possessed the fentanyl. So, yeah, it is a bail argument. Whether or not it works is, it's still murder. So, there's always the the incentive for somebody to flee when they're charged with a crime that can end them up with, the rest of their life in jail. But it's a good argument. It's an argument I would make. There's a complete change in circumstance. They're also arguing that it's a Brady violation, that the prosecutors knew about this information and never turned it over. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on going forward here.
Yeah, really sharp analysis, Mario. Thank you. So the housekeeper told police that she bought the dope from this guy, Crozier. And police interviewed him in May of 2023 when he got arrested on dope charges himself. And at that point, he admitted to selling the housekeeper fentanyl twice in the year 2022. Apparently, Kouri Richins' defense team interviewed him. They have a sworn affidavit from him where he says that he has no memory of doing the interview with police in 2022, or in 2023, excuse me, because he says he was detoxing from his own drug problems and was out of it. So the DA's office goes back to interview him again 2 years later in 2025, and that's when he said he never sold the housekeeper fentanyl, says it was OxyContin instead. All right, Ben Chu, what do you think this does for Ms. Richins at trial? Does this tip the scales at trial, in your view?
Julie, I do. I think it really goes, in addition to the bail issue Mario talked about, I think it goes to reasonable doubt. And I think this really, at least in some jurors' minds, will create the reasonable doubt that could lead to an acquittal here.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, tracing the fentanyl back to the source, the supplier, if you will, is probably key in a case like this. Mario, you touched on this earlier. So the defense team is upset, and I say understandably so, that the DA's office wasn't forthcoming with how this guy changed things in 2025. In 2023, he says he sold it twice to the housekeeper, and then 2025 says no, that wasn't the case, and that it was Oxy's instead. Tell me, how bad is it that they withheld that? If we take what this defense team says as true, that these prosecutors withheld that information from her team.
It's very big. It's bad. Prosecutors have an obligation to turn over any material that could prove your client's innocence. And if they've been holding on to this material, I believe since April, without disclosing that to the defense, it could lead to sanctions. It could lead to them not being able to present evidence. It could lead, to problems with their own bar admission, depending on, how severe the lack of turning that over becomes. This could be a very, very big issue, not only for the trial, but for these attorneys going forward. I'm a former prosecutor. Julie, you're a former prosecutor. That's the top of the food chain. You do not hold on to exculpatory material. You turn that over immediately. No matter how much it hurts, you turn that over.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right, my friend, exactly right. And Mary, I know we're going to have to let you go in a moment, so I want to ask a follow-up to you, please. So in addition to this ask of bail, Kouri Richins' attorneys are asking the court to order the prosecutors to disclose all emails, texts, everything related to their communications with that guy, Mr. Crozier, and they want it done within 3 days. Reasonable ask?
Absolutely. I mean, the court has to investigate when they knew of this, how they became aware of it, what they talked about when they found this out. It's huge. This is going to be investigated. This is a problem for the prosecution here. It's a big problem.
Great points. Mario Gallucci, we got to let you get to court. Go win some cases. Thank you for everything this morning. We'll see you soon. Ben Chu, stand by, please. We got more questions for you coming up in our next segment, where we turn to California and a lip filler appointment leading to a child dying in a hot car. We're talking about Mom Maya Hernandez and her case next.
This week,
we're spotlighting the biggest cases that are trending in true crime. Plus, we're being a voice for victims as October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
loss.
You dream about moments like this. My goodness.
The fastest female track and field stars compete in a one-night-only event. Atlas NYC 2025, live from New York City, Friday at 7. It's on ION.
Our spotlight this morning turns to California for the mother accused in the lip filler case. This beautiful one-year-old baby boy died after being left in a hot car. Prosecutors say that the baby's mother, Maya Hernandez, left her 1- and 2-year-old boys strapped in their car seats while she went into a med spa to get lip filler injections. Hernandez said that she left the air conditioning on, but it shut off in her car an hour later due to the inactivity. She is now facing murder charges. Her defense attorney says that it's negligence at the most and that Ms. Hernandez made a, quote, difficult parenting choice.
There's a human need to protect children and to care for children. But the fact of the matter is she's still a child herself. She's barely 20. You don't stop becoming a child when you turn 18. It's a tragic situation and she's incredibly sad.
Now, fortunately, Maya Hernandez's older baby boy survived. So what will the jury think when this case goes to trial? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in celebrity attorney Ben Chu and board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon, Dr. Craig Ozer. Good morning to you both. Ben, let me start with you with the legal aspects of this. When you're going before a jury on a case like this, different concerns, obviously, for both sides. Would you kind of walk us through the biggies from the perspectives of the defense team here and then, of course, the prosecutors?
Well, the defense team has an almost insuperable obstacle, and I hope that her counsel hones those arguments before he goes before the jury, because what he said was really not going to resonate at all. To say that she faced a difficult parenting choice, leaving your child or even your pet in a hot car is not a choice at all. And arguing that somehow a 20-year-old is not an adult is absolutely ridiculous and offensive, since we send people off to fight for our country, at 18. So I think that he's going to have to come up with some better arguments than that if he wants to have any possibility of mercy for his client.
Yes, Ben, great points. Dr. Craig, would you take us to school, please, on how long a procedure like this takes, the downtime that follows? I gave my opening statement this morning talking about how this isn't something you just do on a whim. There's planning and money involved here. So would you kind of take us to school?
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, in my office or any office out there, assuming there isn't a wait at all, most patients are coming in, they're waiting in the waiting room for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. Then when you get the patient back in the actual exam room, there's time you have to spend with the patient to consult them, see what their needs are, go over the risk benefits of that procedure. And for this particular individual that had lip filler, there's either a nerve block that takes time where you inject inside the mouth and numb the lips up, or there's topical ointment that usually takes 20 to 30 minutes to completely work, and then the procedure after that. And after that, you have to spend time with the patient to tell them what to do and don't do after the procedure. So assuming there is no wait at all, which never happens, it's still around 20 to 30 minutes at minimum.
This is helpful information, Dr. Craig, because initially there was information coming out about this case saying, the procedure was only going to be a 15, 20-minute procedure, making it seem like, no big deal, just popping in for a moment. And I remember saying, I got to call Dr. Craig Ozer in on this one, because that's not something you do on a whim, right? And then the planning afterward, right? Isn't there swelling and bruising and icing involved? And
Absolutely, and all this takes time. And in this particular case, like most doctor's office, we are very familiar with having moms come in with their little ones. I, in particular, can care less if they have their little kids in the room with me while I'm doing the procedure, or we have girls up front that can actually sit with the little ones as well while we're doing the procedure if mom doesn't want them in the room.
Thank you for mentioning that, Dr. Craig, because here apparently Maya Hernandez thought about bringing the kids in. Police say that she did ask the med spa if she could, and they said, oh, sure, we'll just have them wait in the waiting room while you're doing your procedure. And then we know that she chose not to. She left the kids with snacks, milk, her cell phone, left the keys in the car. Ben Chu, let me go back to you. My mind, I think it goes from my time as a prosecutor. I think these kids could have been kidnapped, leaving them in a car like that alone, these babies. And then this happened. Do you think this woman ought to try, I don't know if it's possible, but try to strike up some kind of a plea agreement?
Yes, and Julie, you raised such an astute point. It's not merely the heightened temperature inside the car, it's leaving the children in the car at all. As the doctor made very clear, there were options. She could have brought the children in with her. It's absolutely mindless that she wouldn't have done that. You don't leave a 1 or 2 year old child anywhere alone. I mean, I think that she should seek and take any deal she can get.
A great point, Ben. You know, and a follow-up for you, please. So let's just say the prosecutors are saying, you know, we think this is so egregious. We're so disgusted by this conduct. We're not giving you any deal. Do you think this might go so poorly in front of a jury that maybe she's best to just throw herself at the mercy of the judge, plead, beg for mercy if she did what is alleged here?
Yes, I think a judge might be more sympathetic, maybe too strong a word, but might be more measured in his or her giving of a sentence. I would, if I were her counsel, I would rather go before a judge who might be less inclined to be moved by the passion that will be inspired by the full exposition of the facts of this case, which are beyond egregious.
Well said, Ben. I have a clip for both of you I want to play now. This is little baby Emilio Gutierrez's grandmother, and this is from TV station KFSN. They've been doing reporting on this case locally. This is in the Bakersfield, California area. Let's take a listen to some of what Grandma shared with them.
I couldn't stop screaming. I just kept picturing them alone. I can't even imagine what they went through. They were strapped in their car seats. They couldn't even get up to save themselves. She literally locked them in their car seats and shut the doors.
Oh my gosh. To me, it's nothing short of a miracle that the 2-year-old survived. And Dr. Craig, medically, I read, and you can tell us if this is true or not, read that as the child has aged more than that 1-year-old baby who died, children can sweat more, and that child was able to kind of help relieve himself of the intense temperatures. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that actually is accurate. And the age is typically 1 year of age. And obviously the one made it, the other baby didn't make it. Now, when the core temperature gets above like 104 degrees, 105 degrees, and I believe in this instance, the core temperature is 107 degrees, what happens internally is that our proteins begin to denature. And when they denature, they malfunction. And that is an irreversible event. So it was just tragic on so many levels, this case. And you are correct that a 1-year-old has a harder time to sweat like we do. And that's how we lower our body temperature.
This is really helpful. Dr. Craig, I don't know if you've ever done expert witness work, but you should. If I was a prosecutor on this case, I would have you on standby, ready to go if this case goes to trial, and then you can, refute some of these claims that we've heard about the time, all of these things that surrounded this appointment that was a luxury, not a necessity.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a tragic, it's a tragic event. I don't know how else to say it. It's just, and it's avoidable. That's the other thing. It's 100% completely avoidable.
You're so right. Absolutely. Well, we'll see if this case goes. We're looking to get an indication if it's actually going to go. So perhaps we'll have another conversation about it soon. Got to leave it there for now. You both have big jobs to head to. Attorney Ben Chu, thank you so much for your time on the program today. Such a delight having you. Dr. Craig Ozer, wonderful having you as well. Thank you for your expertise. We'll see you both soon. My friends at home, we're going to hit a break. Thank you for being with us here on Opening Statements. If you like the show, watch it again, share it with your friends.